Oklahoma City Thunder select Chet Holmgren from Gonzaga University.
What a pass. Giddy underneath for JRE. The reverse and the rookie-to-rookie action. SGA defended closely by Westbrook. Tough. Step back. Gets up the shot. Banks it in for the lead.
This is Udart. You're listening to the Uncontested.
What is up, and welcome to the Uncontested podcast, coming to you live Sunday night, June 11th. Had to check the phone real quick. Sunday night, June 11th, as we are a week and a half away from the NBA draft. One game away from the end of the finals. I'm calling
crazy, man.
Book it. I think I saw that the cheapest ticket in Denver tomorrow night is like $1,300. And that's for upper level. Somebody from Denver tweeted it out. It was wild.
Anyways, I'm Crack Sports.
I'm your host for the evening, Jacob Nithin. I've got Justin with me tonight.
Hello, everybody.
Taylor's along for the ride.
Doing better than John Morant and Zion Williamson this evening.
And we've got Nick Crane.
As am I.
Gentlemen, we are a week and a half away from NBA draft time. I am super, super excited. Speaking of the NBA draft, programming note, we will podcast this coming Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Next Sunday, 9 p.m. The following Wednesday is June 21st, Draft Eve. Lay out your milk and cookies for Adam Silver and Adrian Wojnarowski and the trade machine. We will be live that night doing our final NBA draft predictions show. And then for the third straight year, I think it's third straight year, fourth straight year.
God,
where does time go, man?
Really is crazy.
No, I think it's three, because our first one was the Poku draft, yeah?
Yeah.
All a blur.
2018.
So this will be this will be number 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. We will be live for the NBA draft right here on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, anywhere else we stream. We will start 30 minutes before the draft. We'll talk about all the rumors, all the slop coming out the day of the draft. And then once the first round starts, we are there with you the entire time, reacting to all the picks, all the trades, everything else, all the way up to the end of the first round. As we'll talk about in just a moment, Thunder don't really have any entertaining second round picks until you get way to the end to pick 50. So we'll probably kill the stream after the first round and go ahead and do our post-draft podcast after that. It's a great time. So if you haven't joined us before, I would encourage you to do so this year. We have a blast reacting to all this stuff live with you guys. Tons of people in the comments. We bring up all the comments, chat about everything. Just a really fun night where we're on the stream for like 4 hours. It's always a blast. So make plans to join us if you haven't ever before, or if you have in the past. You may remember Tayler, Justin, and I turning off all notifications and trying to react to the 12th pick blind.
Yeah.
And then we definitely got blindsided by the Ousmane Dieng trade. Just a really fun night. So make sure to make plans and come and join us. With that being said, gentlemen, we got a trade.
Trade
Sam
season.
Presti trading draft picks around draft time. A tradition unlike any other.
Unmatched.
So this trade came through Friday morning, which was very interesting because it was the day the Denver Nuggets were playing an NBA Finals game and their GM was making a trade. The details: Oklahoma City is sending away pick number 37 in this year's draft. They're trading a 2024 second round pick and the worst of their 2024 first round picks. They own their own pick, the Clippers pick, a Houston top 4 protected, and a Utah top 10 protected pick. Whichever of those 4 end up being lowest in the first round will go to Denver. In return, Oklahoma City gets a first round draft pick in 2029 from the Denver Nuggets. It is reported that it is a protected first round pick. However, we do not know the protections on that pick yet. Justin, initial reaction when you read this Woj tweet Friday morning that just came completely out of the blue.
My initial reaction was to double check to make sure I was reading it properly. To see the Oklahoma City Thunder and a Woj bomb in early June.
A lot of details in that tweet too.
Yeah, it was. It was very detailed. Slightly unexpected. Beyond that, I think this is a no flash move that makes a lot of sense. Very similar to moves Presti has made in the past, like you alluded to, Jacob, around draft time, pushing future draft assets around. I think for Denver, it makes tons of sense, gives them more assets to work with in the near immediate future in this draft and next year's draft, allows them to continue to add to their team that is clearly doing pretty good right now. For the Thunder, I think it kicks the can down the road, as I think we've seen everybody say. It also helps, consolidate some things. We've talked about how the Thunder can't use all the picks that they have. So this helps get rid of some of those, in turn getting an asset, a 2029 first round pick from the Nuggets that who knows what the Nuggets look like in 2029. There's a lot of possibility that comes with that pick. So I think, it's not super splashy, but it feels like one of those deals that just made a lot of sense for both sides.
I think it makes sense for both sides. Denver especially, taking the biased Thunder hat off, I think it was a better move for Denver than OKC. I think it was a move OKC had to make. It was a move that Denver made because they were able to capitalize on the situation of Oklahoma City kind of has to do this, right? I think what will likely happen is Denver tries to pair their second rounder with this second rounder in the 23 draft to move into the first round. They also get a first rounder next year. So I think big picture in a vacuum, Denver probably views this as if we can package 37 in the second we have to get in the first round, we get a first round next year. It's like trading a future first for 2 first potentially. So it makes a ton of sense for them. Oklahoma City, the 29 pick could be really good. Like we're talking, what is that, 6 years away? A lot happens in 2 years, let alone 6 years. Like it could end up being a pick that is a lottery pick. It could be, the 18th pick. Who knows? I'm sure that Sam Presti tried making this deal with 50 instead of 37. I just have this like internal hiccup of, I know for a fact we're going to be sitting there on draft night in a couple weeks. We're going to get a pick 37. We're going to see who's on the board. And we're going to say, damn. Not that Presti would take the guy at 37 that we all want, because that never happens. There's always the guy that falls and you're like, oh my gosh, the Thunder are picking, and then he takes some guy that you never would have thought. But that's going to be once we get over that hurdle and 37 is off the board and that player has been selected, and we can move on past that. I think I'll be over this trade a bit, but I just think in this draft especially, like there's going to be a really good player at 37. That's my one thing I can't stop thinking about in this trade.
I think you both have kind of nailed it in terms of the perspective of each team, why they would do this deal. I came across this tweet over the weekend. This is Just In Case on Twitter. He has a very long name, and so I don't actually get to see his Twitter @ but Just In Case is who tweeted this out. I believe he was replying to a tweet about the trade. And he said he did some research, checked out the 40 NBA Finals teams from the years of 1998 to 2017, and he looked up what draft pick that team ended up with 6 years later to this point about why the Thunder would do this trade and what that pick may look like, to your point, Nick, 6 years later, which was from 2004 to 2023 when those picks would convey. 21 picks were top 14. 13 of those were top 10, and 6 of them top 5. The average of all 40 is the 15th pick, is the 15.4th pick. So I guess 15.4. So basically the 15th pick. Anyways, I found that really good and interesting perspective. Because to your point, Nick, I read all that. I kind of took it in. I even think we talked about this on the podcast a couple of different times over the past couple of weeks. So this could be a kind of move that the Thunder that Presti could do, try and consolidate those picks and kind of kick the can down the road a little bit, rather than just consolidating picks to move up in a draft or to go and trade for a quote unquote superstar player. So it makes sense, but I also had the impression, like you did, Nick, the first impression that this maybe was a lot just for a protected first round pick. And so that's when Jacob and I'll let Jacob kind of take over here. We kind of started talking about some of the protections, what that could look like. And you have to keep in mind the Thunder also own the, I believe, a top 5 protected Denver pick in 2027.
Well, one thing before Jacob gets into protections, just let's think about a scenario here. This is the pessimist in me. There's a world in which Houston's top 4 protected pick, like they could have 8th or 9th best odds and land a top 4 pick, keep their pick. Utah, I'd be honestly surprised if Utah's good this year or good enough to convey the top 10 protected pick. There's a world in which the Clippers at the trade deadline say, Kawhi and PG, it ain't working. Let's trade one of these guys. And we're like, man, that Clippers pick could be good. That Clippers pick could be the worst, quote unquote, of the 24 picks if Houston and Utah don't convey. And all of a sudden, like we're in a situation where the Thunder, kind of like this year actually, where it's like you could have 2 lottery or close to lottery picks, and all of a sudden you've traded for a 2029 first, and the pick that Denver gets is like 17, and then Taylor's statistic of 15.4. You kind of just gave up 37 in the second for, I mean, there's a billion ways this could go, but that scares me a little bit.
The interesting thing is we have the initial Woj reporting. This trade has not been made official. There's been no press release by the league or by either team, which means that this trade has not gone through the league office yet. I wonder if it doesn't go through until draft day. So I've been wondering about that, Nick. We don't know the specifics. There could be language in this that says Denver gets the least valuable of OKC's 4 2024 picks as long as 3 convey, or as long as all 4 convey.
Or protect the worst of the picks as long as they're not top 14. There's a bunch of language.
Yeah, we don't know what the language of the trade will actually read. So it could be very, very interesting because, as Tayler mentioned, Denver owes OKC a 2027 top 5 protected pick. If Denver is top 5 in 2027, that pick that they owe OKC, they keep it, and it rolls over to 2028. Well, league rules state that you cannot trade your first round pick in back-to-back years. So if they end up having to give OKC the 2028 pick, they can't trade OKC the 2029 pick. So then how does the language there start to line up, right? Did part of this deal include getting the 2027 pick unprotected? I don't think so. I think that'd be a pretty big nugget of that trade. No pun intended.
No pun intended.
That Denver would have disclosed to Woj. But it could read something like, once the 2027 pick conveys, then 2 years later, OKC gets the Nuggets pick. It also wouldn't surprise me if they roll this out until draft day, once the picks are made, because you can only trade a first round pick out 7 years. Right now, 2029 is out 6 years, so it could only roll over 1 year.
Yep.
If they wait till after the draft, they could have language in the trade that says Denver has to trade their 2029 pick. And if it doesn't convey, it rolls to 2030. And if it doesn't convey, it rolls to 2031. So OKC could get more rolling protections on that. A lot of little intricacies that go into this, which are pretty fascinating.
There could even be language that says if the low 24 pick that Denver gets does land top X, then 27 loses protections, or if it lands 20 plus, there's a bunch of stuff.
We have absolutely no clue.
Yeah.
It could be tied into a bigger trade come draft night if they
100%. Yeah. They could keep it open for draft night, and then OKC actually doesn't end up trading 37 to Denver. They trade it to somebody else as a package for Denver to But
I think we're burying the lead here. The Nuggets are still playing in the finals, which means these players can't be included in the reported trade yet. So obviously, once the finals are over, Michael Porter Jr. to the Thunder.
It's
Sources.
very interesting.
Sources.
And I get Nick's fear of like, what if that pick ends up being good in that 2024 class? And then you get to 2029 and Denver's still competing for titles and you get picked 28 or whatever. Like, it's a possibility. I think back to the quote from the Presti op-ed in the Oklahoman stating that they will play the empirical odds. They're playing the odds here.
What a quote.
Right. And the way I've kind of
Nerd.
thought about it, sometimes I have to like try to explain these trades to people who like aren't as balls deep in NBA, CBA as I am.
That was me and Hayden to my dad this weekend. He
Yeah.
was like, oh, Presti trading more picks again.
The way I see it is like you're at dinner and you're at like some fancy restaurant and you are getting pretty full, but you still have like half your entree and dessert coming up. And you're like, man, I'm not going to be able to eat the rest of this. Hey, guy sitting across the table from me, I'll give you like the second half of this steak and you can have my dessert that's coming out if I get your dessert next week whenever we go out to dinner. Right? I can't use it now. I can't finish this steak and this dessert now. But next week, maybe we go to the 5-star restaurant that Jacob could never afford and the dessert's $45 freaking dollars and now I'm cashing out. Or maybe it's just a $10 slice of cheesecake.
This is why I don't go to dinner with Jacob.
I think
That's the way I've kind of tried to rationalize it, though. You can't eat all of it now. So you make a deal to get something later down the line. Even if, like, say, the Thunder end up giving Denver the 19th pick in 2024 and OKC gets the 17th pick in 2029, I still think it's worth it because you are stringing your assets out farther and farther and farther, which gives you more flexibility down the road.
The reality is, I would. It should be a coin flip on, is the 29 pick from Denver used or is it traded? Like, it's probably like a real 50-50, but I would, if I was a betting man in Vegas, I would bet the 29 Denver pick is traded and not used. And so until 29 comes around, there's still that hypothetical value of the what if. And I think Presti will probably trade that before we ever find out if Denver's competing in 29 or tanking in 29.
Definitely. The other thing I wanted to bring up about this trade before we move on, Tayler and I had an interesting conversation about this part of it. The wording says they are trading the least valuable of their 2024 firsts. It makes me wonder, how do you trade other 2024 firsts? You cannot now make a trade that says the Oklahoma City Thunder are trading Houston's 2024 first that they own because Houston's pick technically could end up as the worst. So do you have to word all trades after this as the Thunder are trading the best of the 2024 first or the second best or the second worst? It gets very interesting. But the question I want to ask you guys, I think lots of Thunder fans are asking, does this mean that they're not going to make a move from 12 to try to move up the draft board? Now, we have no clue. Presti always tries to move up, move down, stay put. Like, all options are on the table. How does this trade affect their ability to make subsequential moves going into the June 22nd draft?
There's no correlation to the two. Like, we're talking about, we're so in this bubble of 2024 talking about 2024 implications. We're not talking about the other dozen
17
or more first rounders that he has. Like, if he wants to move up, this trade has zero consequence one way or the other.
Agree completely. There's so many additional assets that he can use that are at his disposal to be able to, I mean, like you said, Jacob, so many different opportunities, and all depends on how the draft falls on draft night as we're getting closer and closer to next said pick. But yeah, no, Presti has limitless opportunities, it feels like, to be able to still trade up in this draft. And even I've been thinking about this as well. I mean, I get it. I've been preaching about this recently more than anybody, about the quote unquote roster crunch, how it's filled with young guys that the team's actually invested in 1 through 15, in addition to your two-way guys who are also pretty valuable and this team's invested in. So it doesn't make a lot of sense to bring in a lot of new players in this upcoming draft, upcoming rookies. But I mean, he has enough ammunition still to still be able to keep pick 12, just like last year, and also still trade up in the draft. So again, just back to Nick's point, I don't think there's any correlation at all.
I agree. I think there's plenty available at Presti's fingertips, but to be able to go acquire whatever he has his eyes set on now, whether other teams bite is a different story, but I think he's got more than enough assets to make a healthy offer. That's for sure.
Before we move on, speaking of the trade up scenario, can I like Alex Jones this thing and put on my tinfoil cap and just go balls deep for a second?
It's too many metaphors, but yes.
I was like, whoa.
Okay. I've been thinking more and more about the trade up scenarios. And I just keep thinking about the Washington Wizards.
Yeah.
At pick 8 a lot. Let me tell you, like, I think a lot of our listeners probably know why, but maybe some people are listening that don't have all the dots connected that I'm thinking of. Washington hired a new president of he's like president of the Wizards and the Mystics and are they called the Go-Go's? Their G League team?
The G League.
Michael Winger, who was previously with the Clippers, before that with Sam Presti and OKC. Michael Winger then had to hire a general manager specifically for the Washington Wizards. He hired Will Dawkins, who has been with OKC for 15 years, and his most recent job title with the Thunder was like assistant vice president, basically Sam Presti's right-hand man. So Will Dawkins knows how Presti operates. Michael Winger knows how Presti operates. That's the first dots to connect. The next set of dots to connect. Washington owes a protected first-round pick that I think is now with the Knicks or somebody. It's been traded around a few times. But just like we talked with the Denver pick, since it's protected, they cannot trade another first-round pick technically until 2028. They've kind of hamstrung themselves to have any assets to moving forward. And that is a team that just hired a president and a GM who have a background of tearing things down and rebuilding with draft capital. They don't have any draft capital. The Thunder, who are 4 spots behind Washington in this draft, have a ton of draft capital, as we've just talked about. Hey, Michael Winger and Will Dawkins, you want to restock the coffers, get some assets moving forward? Why don't you slide back 4 spots in the draft? And then lastly, Adrian Wojnarowski dropped a podcast late last week. I want to say it was on Thursday, which was an interview with Michael Winger, in which Presti asked him, he said, what was it like making the Paul George trade with your former boss, Sam Presti? I'm sure that had to have been a difficult thing to navigate. And Winger said, no, actually, it was a really easy trade to make because he knew what we wanted. We knew that he was going to ask for everything. We knew he also wasn't trying to shop Paul George elsewhere. We both had something the other side wanted, and it was just a matter of hammering out the details. And it was actually pretty easy, which was very interesting to me when we're a week and a half away from the draft. And Michael Winger has openly said they're considering all possibilities, including a rebuild. Sign and trading Kyle Kuzma, sign and trading Kristaps Porzingis, maybe moving off Bradley Beal. The
Bradley Beal to OKC rumors live.
There we go.
We are back.
Just a ton of dots that have kind of connected. Now, the odds of OKC actually making a trade with Washington on draft night are very, very slim. But there's just enough smoke there that you've got to think they've been discussing something, feeling each other out, seeing what's out there. And obviously it would depend on who's available at 8 as well. If a guy that the Thunder are in love with is there at 8, that's a spot they could trade up to. Because I don't think you can get to 9. And I don't think you can get to 6 or 7. I don't think Indiana, Orlando, or Utah are moving off those picks.
Agreed.
I think your best bets are 10, 8, and 5. to move up in this draft.
To piggyback on the Dawkins connection and what could be, as you can imagine, the right-hand man of Sam Presti is very involved in draft and scouting and who's picked. A year ago, post-draft, 2022 draft, Will Dawkins actually joined Sam Presti for the media availability after the draft and talked to the media and gave his thoughts on some of the picks and the thought process. So if anybody on planet Earth knows how Sam Presti operates around draft season, it is the man that's now in Washington.
Yeah.
Well,
and I've had some people say to me like, well, Sam probably knew that this Will Dawkins thing was eventually going to go through. And so probably like had Will not part of some of this draft prep stuff.
That's what I was about to ask.
2023 draft prep started 2 years ago.
Right.
Longer than that.
You know,
Right.
Will Dawkins knows who Sam Presti likes and who Sam Presti doesn't like. Unrelated to draft stuff, he knows which assets of those future picks Presti thinks are incredibly high value and he doesn't want to trade, and which ones he doesn't. And I mean, I'm sure Will Dawkins is a very ethical person who wouldn't want to use that information, but you can't unknow something.
Right. Well, I can even see him doing it. I mean, again, of all the people in the league that you want to still hold, have them hold you in high regard, and you can kind of, it would be an asset to have as an ally in this league, Sam Presti. So I could even see him reaching out to Sam saying, hey, look, we're at pick 8. We got a guy we're kind of targeting, but think we can get a couple spots back. And we know that you value this player. You know, what do you think? And I understand you probably already don't, you know, the framework's already almost in place. Like you were saying, Jacob, I know you wouldn't part with these picks, but I know you probably are more willing to part with these picks. What do you think about this package? And it's almost easier to work a trade like that compared to somebody like a GM you're less familiar with.
Teams trade with teams that they're familiar with. And on that topic, Tayler, I don't know this. Like, I've never been anywhere close to an NBA front office, but just the way my brain works.
I work right across the street, and so I just walk down there
up.
sometimes and just hang out outside and
Just shoot the shit with Sam. I would think you're not negotiating a trade with 5 minutes on the draft timer.
right.
The Thunder have the framework for a trade to 5, a trade to 8, a trade to 10 on the board. And so when pick 8 pops up and Indiana didn't take who the Thunder wanted at 7, it's probably Jarris Walker. You pick up the phone and you call and you say, hey, can we push that trade through? You've probably got all the shit written down and ready to go through and send to the league office because you're not negotiating with 5 minutes on the clock. Nobody is doing that. The trade frameworks are being built like today. June 11th. That's when the trade frameworks are being built. So I know. Kind of interesting. Whenever the Thunder trade for the pick number 8 in the draft, you guys can all come back and thank me.
We'll pull this audio.
And then whenever they don't trade for pick 8,
We'll
I'm
also
sure
pull this audio.
people are going to be on
Still
twitter.com
pull the audio.
trashing me.
We need the It's Always Sunny gif / meme of like him connecting all the dots and like Jacob's face on there.
I need
100%.
Silva when he's back from his margarita adventure to pull the clip of Tayler saying, "What do you think of this package?"
I completely missed that.
I'm sure that was one of those Zion Snapchats. All right, we're going to take a quick break. On the other side, we are passing the reins of the podcast over to Nick Crane as we are going to build the Uncontested draft big board coming up for the draft, which is in like 10 days, 11 days. We'll be right back. All right, we are back. I am handing the reins over to Nick Crane. I did this once before, and it went very well. So, Nick, let's see if you can go 2 for 2. Was the first time small sample size, not enough to judge?
We will find out.
We will find out. Find out next time on Dragon Ball Z.
Oh my gosh. All right. So I'm going to
time.
share my screen. Got a little spreadsheet here. Jacob and I talked earlier today.
What
If
is
you're- if you are-
happening in
if
this
you-
spreadsheet?
If you do not watch us on the live stream or go back and watch the YouTube video, I would just highly suggest you do so because Nick has got some wild shit on my screen right now.
This is our uncontested big board in progress. Okay.
I thought Justin was the shit poster of the pod, and then Nick Crane entered the chat.
This is incredible. The Poku draft night picture
yes.
is doing wonders.
Hey, speaking of, you got to recreate that, Justin.
I thought I won that trade.
No, you lost it. Because we were talking about you and the fam recreating the picture.
I chose to believe otherwise.
Anyways, so wanted to build the uncontested big board with 10, 11 days left until the draft. But I figured it'd be really boring if we just like talked back and forth on who do you like here, who do you like here, and do that whole exercise. So I'm going to explain what we're going to do in a second. It is not the most orthodox way of building a big board, and it's going to be a little weird, but we'll make tweaks at the end, and I think we'll come up with something that we all agree upon. So as you can see on the screen with Adam Silver here, we've got stonks. So this is going to be one of those exercises you see on Twitter, kind of like the build your teams. You got $5, build your team. But what we're going to do is for each of these groups here, so we got 4 groups of 4 players. I've tried to divvy up the groups into which there's different positions in every group. You have $100 per group. And this is not one of those like buy low, sell high. This is just like, as of today, if you had $100 to say, I want this guy a lot, or I want this guy not very much, you allocate $100 to the 4 players in each group. We're going to put those values on the left side. Once we're done, we'll see what our board looks like, and we'll make, those minute tweaks afterwards. Maybe there's a guy, or maybe there's 2 guys you really like in a group, so you have to allocate your dollars more evenly. He's lower on the board, and we can push him up, but this will be our starting point. Does that all make sense?
I was told there would be no math.
Hey, it does the math for you.
It does the math for you.
So
Nick is very good at putting together these spreadsheets and formulas.
So group number 1, okay, we've got Anthony Black, Leonard Miller, Dariq Whitehead, and Jet Howard. It is up to the 3 of you to determine for your $100 for this group based on who you like. Again, this is not a buy low, sell high. This is none of that. Who do you like, and what do you want to allocate your dollars for these 4 players?
Okay, and we're doing this. Is this specifically like uncontested, or is this we're trying to predict like what the Thunder would look at?
This is what you want for the Thunder to do.
Okay.
So uncontested big board for the Thunder specifically at 12, assuming they stand right there, and assuming all these guys would be available.
Gotcha.
$100.
We're all looking at each other like, who's going to go first?
So Anthony Black, Jet Howard, Dariq Whitehead, and who's the last one here?
Leonard Miller.
Leonard Miller. Okay. Really random thought, but Dariq Whitehead, I just get Rodney Hood vibes from him.
Ooh, that's actually a good one. I like that.
Yeah,
it might just be the Duke connection, but I just get Rodney Hood vibes.
I've been thinking about Duke prospects as well. Like AJ Griffin could be best case scenario. Gosh, and I had another one here. Cam Reddish situation, kind of. I don't want to say worst case scenario. It's not like he's necessarily flamed out, but could also be an outcome there. So I've been thinking about Duke players also for Dariq.
When I think about this activity, Justin and Tayler, I have a hard time separating what I want versus what the Thunder lean towards.
Yeah,
which is positional size, versatility, smart players, playmakers, guys that can get into the paint, guys who can get downhill. They haven't really valued shooting a whole bunch. I would assume that the Thunder's philosophy is we have a much better chance of getting high IQ, ball moving, can play with a rhythm players, and then teach them to shoot. Right. Yeah, and teach them to shoot versus getting shooters and teach them the IQ aspect of the game.
Agreed, completely.
I think that's kind of what they think. So when I think of this group that we have, group 1, I mainly think about Anthony Black and Leonard Miller. The other 2 are lower for me.
Agreed, 100%. One thing You mentioned to me over the weekend, Jacob, kind of another aspect of that we haven't really talked a lot about, but is absolutely present in these players that the Thunder are drafting, is pressure, being able to get to the rim, apply pressure when driving to the rim, and being able to kind of create that shot around the rim. I don't know. I know we've talked a lot about Leonard Miller, potentially how he would fit with
he fits the
OKC.
potential like positional fits that they need.
Right. And also has some of those qualities that you just rattled off. Then that's a pick 12. And what we're doing in this exercise that Nick put together here that I really like is we're looking at this as a group. I would value Anthony Black in this group. Well, I'm with you, first of all, Jacob. And Justin, I think you probably agree. Anthony Black and Leonard Miller stand out the most to me in this group. But I would value Anthony Black even quite a bit more than Leonard Miller. A lot of the reasons we already have talked about on this podcast, but extremely high IQ player, can push the ball in transition, has a lot of size, so obviously can rip a rebound off the rim and drive air and create in transition. Not the best shooter, even not the best around the rim necessarily, but has a really nice floater and still able to get a shot. And just one thing that kind of separates him from the Josh Giddeys, even the J-Dubs, for example, an incredible point of attack defender and a really solid defender. I think over like long-term 1 through 4 potentially. So for all those different reasons, I think I'd be willing to go as high as like $70 for Anthony Black here.
Wow.
Maybe like 20 Leonard Miller, and then 5 and 5 for Whitehead and Howard, just because I like Whitehead and his long-term upside, not so much for the Thunder. And I really think Anthony Black would just fit in seamlessly with what the Thunder are building.
Nick, correct me if I'm wrong. Was Anthony Black like a 4-star wide receiver in high school?
He played football all the way up until I think it was like his sophomore or junior year of high school.
I think
he could have been.
Like a 4-star kid.
I did not know that, but
and I know he played soccer as well. Justin, I mentioned what you think here. The 70-25-5 is a little rich for me.
Spicy. Same.
I might be 50-30, 10-10, 50-30, 15-5, putting Jet Howard at 5.
I could buy that. I agree. I would not put 70 on Anthony Black. It seems a bit high to me. Taylor's a high roller. I'm not as aggressive.
And I like Black. Now, granted, we have 100 for each group, right, Nick? That's what you were saying. Okay, yeah, right. Yeah. That's why I went as high as I did on Black. I really like him.
Yeah, I don't know. It seems like a lot of eggs in that basket. I'm not totally sold on Black like Taylor is. Like I think there's a lot of good stuff there. I'd just be curious to see. This may sound weird, like because I think he's incredibly talented, but like his fit with the backcourt that the Thunder have with, this is where it sounds weird, is like starting to talk about like mouths to feed, like where this team is at. Like, I think that's somewhat irrelevant, but I do think it would come into play with a guy like Anthony Black.
I think that's fair.
Of how he would integrate into the pieces the Thunder already have. Would you get psyched to take him in this draft? Like, absolutely. I think you'd feel great about it if the Thunder walked away with him.
I think a closing lineup of Shea, Giddey, Dub, Black, and Chet is just stupid. Arms everywhere. And actually like really fun.
Yeah.
I also think about the fact that they have Chip England on the roster.
Yep.
If you can get Anthony Black or Leonard Miller to shoot it at like a 36% clip on like 3 or 4 attempts a game, I mean, you're cooking with gas at that point. Yeah. I mean, it is a big if, but I would bet on Chip England versus nearly almost any other coaching staff in the league.
His shot doesn't look awful. I mean, that's the thing. It's compared to some of these other prospects.
And the thing is, like, Leonard Miller's shot looks ugly. But Leonard Miller also played with an NBA 3-point line.
Yeah,
where the rest of these guys played with a shorter one.
That's a good point.
Now, what does Anthony Black look like with NBA spacing, though? Right? Like on the other side of that conundrum. It's interesting to think about.
And I think he's very smart. He can cut. He can be like a connective piece.
You guys have sold me, though, a little bit on maybe I'm undervaluing Leonard as high as I am on Anthony
Leonard's
Black.
Huge, dude.
He's huge.
That's a good point.
He's a really good finisher.
The NBA-like experience that he already has, being in an NBA, again, system already. I think that's a fair point.
6'9" with a 7'2" wingspan's got Thunder written all over.
That was 6'9" without shoes.
right.
Crazy.
So where we going? Final
Another
answer here.
7-footer.
What did you say, Jacob?
Mine was 50, 30, 15, and 5.
I think I second that.
Does that math
All right.
add up?
Yes.
It
Okay.
does.
Sure does.
Sure does.
All right. Moving on to group number 2. We have Grady Dick, Kaysen Wallace, Noah Clowney, and Bryce Sensabaugh.
This is
Interesting.
a fun group.
Same thing. The top 2 I'm way higher on than the bottom 2. I know Thunder Nation loves Grady Dick, and I can see the reasons why, and the fit makes sense to me. But the guy I'm spending the most money on in this group is Kaysen.
Agreed.
Also agreed. I think he obviously presents the highest upside. I know he's a little short, but he does have a solid wingspan. And the thing is, it's just the way he plays on both ends.
And
of
he
the
can
floor
shoot it.
I think.
Yeah.
And he can shoot. Right. Yeah. He can shoot it on top of everything else. Still has a lot of those qualities that we talked about in terms of, we didn't see a ton of playmaking necessarily, but he did take over as the lead point guard for that Kentucky team down the stretch when they were battling injuries. He definitely has that ability. And again, I think a player who would really benefit from NBA spacing in regards to both playmaking and his opportunities with catch and shoot. And I don't know, that combined with the defensive ability, I think is really exciting. So I'm with you. I'd put Kaysen above Grady.
I agree. I do.
$2 of a tip.
Some of these comments are unhinged. Yeah, I agree. Same thing here. Grady Dick and Kaysen Wallace, I think, are definitely the higher prospects. I've shared my unfounded hatred of Grady Dick. So I'm not willing to give up too much, even while acknowledging like he's probably a pretty good fit. Clowney and Sensabaugh, like
Sensabaugh just doesn't feel thundery to me, and I don't see the fit.
yeah.
I don't know much about Noah Clowney, but I know he's a bit more of a modern style
big
/forward.
We have a modern style big /forward at home. So
A lot of them.
Clowney is interesting. Like totally a guy that if and I'm not even sure he would even fall this far necessarily. But if the Thunder still had that 37 pick, would be a guy I'd be very interested in there. I think he has a lot of untapped offensive upside that he wasn't really able to show at Bama, and a really good defense prospect. But again, like pretty big gap between him, Wallace, and Grady Dick. Bryce Sensabaugh, I just haven't been high on this entire process. I understand he can shoot. I just maybe, and again, like you mentioned at the top of this, Jacob, maybe it's the Thunder bias in me. Not very high on him.
So when we're speaking of spending our $100 here, Kaysen doesn't get as much as Anthony Black, I don't think. But does he get more than Leonard Miller? It's a yes.
I agree.
Although it might only be $5 or $10.
Yeah. No,
I think Kaysen gets like
10.
35 or 40. You want to do 40 on Kaysen?
Yeah.
40. I was thinking like 40 Kaysen, 30, maybe 25 for Dick.
I was thinking 32 or 30 as well.
32. Don't bring 32.
$32.50.
I can't do that kind of math.
Factor in tax.
Is inflation factored in here, Nick?
Inflation.
Don't forget tax. Don't forget tax.
30 as well.
36, 25, maybe 26.
I mean, do we do 40, 30, 20, 10?
I actually like that. I like that a lot.
Sure.
That seems pretty fair.
There it is.
But then that puts Noah Clowney more money than Derek Whitehead. I don't know if I like that.
I don't like that either.
Hey, this is in a vacuum. We're going group by group.
Okay.
We can make those tweaks after. That'll be
okay.
exercise too.
Yeah, that's a good point.
All right.
This is a tough group.
This is a hard group here. You've got Tayler Hendricks, Jordan Hawkins, Ryan Rupert, and Nick Smith Jr. All guys that are legit lottery talents.
You guys think this is a difficult one? My initial reaction was in that order: Taylor, and then Jordan, Ryan, and then Nick Smith was 85, 555.
Whoa!
Wow! Whoa! Okay, so
Okay.
Thank God
definitely have
Jarris Walker
Taylor.
wasn't on here. Jacob would give out $400 and quit the game.
Yeah.
I definitely have Taylor at the top of this list. I'm still very high on Taylor. I think it was Mavs draft. I want to make sure I have that correctly. Who tweeted out? It's kind of a little highlight reel and something I've thought a lot about with Hendricks this past season is he's been knocked for his playmaking. I don't think he's necessarily a great playmaker, but he is a good connector. I think his passing is a little undervalued. I mean, he presents, we've talked a lot about the shot blocking, the 3-point shooting, stretch big. Hendricks is obviously at the top of this group for me. I agree with Hawkins next, can move extremely well off ball. And again, this is a very high comparison, which the comp I'm about to throw out is the reason that a lot of people hate player comps. But I get Klay Thompson vibes in the sense of how he's able to move off ball and almost always finds his balance to be able to get off his shot.
They have Jordan Hawkins at home.
Yeah. And Isaiah Joe. Okay, that's actually a really realistic player comp in Isaiah Joe. I like that. I would put Nick Smith Jr. over Ryan Repair.
Agreed.
Because I think he has a lot of untapped potential. Also, there's some weird stuff going on there about him potentially getting shut down with Arkansas. I would not base his evaluation solely off of his Arkansas season is what I would say. Regardless, I am fine with giving Taylor Hendricks a majority of the money here in this group. What do you guys think in terms of the split?
I already gave you my opinion.
for the same reason, well, maybe not the same reason as the first group, because I think I like Taylor Hendricks more than Anthony Black. But I'm
see that's close with me. Like
that is close with me too.
Yeah,
two very different players.
Very different.
Yeah,
totally.
But again, this is the allocation for this group. Don't think back about how much you gave Anthony.
So anyway, for the same reason as the first group, I'm hesitant to go like all in on a guy here unless he was somebody like Jarris Walker.
Yep.
What did we do for the first group? Can you scroll up? Did we do 60, 50?
50.
50, 30, 15, and 5.
I'd be willing to go 60 on Hendricks.
Ooh.
I'm cool with that.
Like I'd go 60 Hendricks.
30 Hawkins?
No.
Too high.
No.
20,
Way too low.
No.
Like
20, 10, 10?
that I was that's exactly 20. No, well, no.
No.
Put them in, and then we can play with it. Put that 10 in, and then we can move some stuff around a little bit.
No comment.
And congratulations, we all just became accountants.
Ryan Repair is like
one
Tabocephalosha.
Mm.
And I think like Nick Smith Jr. is, I don't know, Swaggy P.
Jake's such a hater in this group.
Actually,
I don't see the fit with those three.
No, I agree with that.
If Jordan Hawkins gets to the league and like the shot just doesn't fall, what do you have?
Yeah.
A filled roster spot? You know, and like I'm like legitimately like I'm not trying to be shitty to the guy. Like I'm sure he's a great kid. I don't see what else transfers except the jump shot. And if the jump shot doesn't transfer, you're in trouble.
But that's like saying if Wemby comes to the league and his legs fall off, then you just have wasted a pick.
It's a fair point. It is a very.
I don't think Jordan Hawkins is rounded.
No, I agree.
Besides shooting, he doesn't have the defense. He doesn't have the playmaking. But he runs. He gets cardio in.
You're undervaluing him to an extent.
Tony Snell.
There. But I do understand. Like again, if we're thinking about this Thunder specific, I would agree with you for sure. Hendricks by far. In fact, if we're doing that, I would even bump Repair up. Probably at the same level as Hawkins if we're talking about Thunder specific. But
no, see, I think Repair is Usman Jang, but 5 inches shorter.
Shooting.
This is not my game, but Hawkins would be my lowest in this group.
Ooh,
interesting.
That's almost where I'm at. For me, it's almost. No, not almost. I think for me it is Taylor Hendricks, Nick Smith Jr., maybe Jordan Hawkins, then Rain Repair.
Okay.
So maybe it's 60, 10, 5, 15.
I'm not against that.
Yeah.
You like that?
Yeah, I like that.
Okay. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Got a quick glimpse of Poku here before we go up to Group 4.
With the COVID mask, like 3 of them, 4 of them.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
Group 4. We got
That's
Coulibaly,
tough too.
Lively, Buffkin, and George.
Can I kick us off here real quick?
Go ahead.
I mentioned this on the podcast with Spins. The more I watch Bilal Coulibaly, the more Andre Robertson I see.
Huh.
Whoa.
The kid's a freak athlete.
Yeah.
He's super young. So maybe he's got a little more juice than Andre, like athletically. But everything and I'm not a draft expert. I like listen to smart people talk about the draft and then try to form some opinions off of that. Coulibaly, like, hasn't shot the ball great with Mets 92. It's been like a bit of a small sample size. Can get to the rim, but like all the passes are like pre-programmed reads. It almost reminds me like Serge Ibaka-esque, where it's like he would catch the ball and it was like, you do this thing. And if that's not there, then you shoot. And if that's not there, then you do this thing. And he's got to like
a flow chart.
Yeah, the computer program is in there and it's like cannot execute, cannot execute, cannot execute. And then you move on to like the bottom thing. The idea of playing rhythms, not pattern, Coulibaly is anti that to me. He seems like a very pattern typed player. So he would probably be third in this list for me.
Oh, wow.
I would put Lively and Buffkin above him. I might go Lively, Buffkin, Coulibaly.
Did you say Lively is your first guy?
Buffkin and Lively are going to be at the top. I don't know what order I'm going to put them in yet. And then Coulibaly, and then Keontae George.
Are you a Lively lad? Is that what you are?
Lively lad.
I've been a little
Buffkin boy and Lively lad.
I've been kind of bought in on Derek Lively. Like I can see the vision.
I had a long convo with my brother-in-law over the weekend about Derek Lively, and I think he warmed me up to him.
Oh guys, 2 weeks ago you wouldn't even think about it.
Probably
but
not.
The pro day. No, I agree.
The lob threat that he could bring to this team, in addition to Chet, could be a lot of fun.
The thing is, if they believe he can shoot it.
Right.
Yeah.
If they think he can shoot it, that's gross. Because he can like make some short roll reads. His catch radius is like massive.
Yes.
I mean, with him and Chet, it's just
even Giddey could throw lobs.
Yeah, I don't care that Giddey can't throw a lob. Just sling that thing up there and somebody's coming down with it.
Yes. I think this is the hardest group, this 4.
I kind of feel that way too.
I totally agree.
I've really fallen on Keontae George in this process. I worry about his processing. I find it interesting that he played so heavy this year in college, like especially at his size in terms of height and length. Not a player that I thought would be particularly heavy, and then comes in and gets in great shape for these draft workouts. Like, look, if Keontae George goes to the Miami Heat, perfect fit. But like going to a team like the Thunder, specifically, I know, again, like I argued in the group before this, that this isn't a Thunder specific exercise necessarily. I don't know. I'm pretty low on Keontae George though. Coulibaly, I've gotten some, and again, this is for a different podcast here over the next week or so. There's almost some like young Russell Westbrook, like pre-NBA Russell Westbrook to his
Jacob
game.
calls him Andre Robertson and Tayler calls him Russell Westbrook.
Well, in terms of that, again, think about the processing though. I think that's pretty fair when you think about Andre Robertson and Russell Westbrook in terms of processing the game. The raw athleticism and explosion. He's not nearly as explosive as Russ, but the way they play the game, headstrong. He just struggles with contact. I've been a little disappointed, like watching his last 2 games. Anyways,
I'll give it to Coulibaly. He does have that dog.
Buffkin's my favorite. Yeah, no, he's not afraid. He hasn't backed down. And I think there is something to be said about him playing against this competition and how rapidly he has improved in a short period. But Buffkin's really my guy, I think, in this group, just because I think he does process the game at a high level, has a great shot. I started watching Michigan early in the college season because of Howard. and it was Buffkin I came away the most impressed with, and that just continued throughout the majority of the season for a multitude of reasons. I think he could be a solid defender, 1 through potentially 3, and I don't know. I'm a pretty big fan of Kobe Buffkin. I'd put him 1. I think I'm with you all. Derek Lively 2, Coulibaly 3, but I think it's probably pretty close with Lively, and then George would be my opinion. I'm curious what you guys think, and we can put some values on these.
Here was my numbers. If you guys are okay with it, let's plug in these
Get 'em
numbers
in.
and then we can rearrange a little bit as we
Yep.
see fit. I was going to put Lively 30, Buffkin 30. That's wait, my
60.
math is off.
60.
40 40.
I
Go
can
40
see
Speaking of
40.
math, we need to readjust our group above because that does not equal 100.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
You're right.
We'll do that in a second.
Jacob picked that one too.
I think
40
yeah.
40,
I don't know.
Coulibaly 12,
The man
Keontae
teaches
8.
history. Okay, let's give him a break.
12 and
Hey, I don't
8?
teach anything now, buddy.
Yeah, that's
Oh my
a good
God.
point.
So that one above.
Yeah.
7.
We're
Oh, it's our
we're up
runback.
by 10. We need 10 more.
We need 10
dollars.
more.
Give it to Taylor.
You would.
let's-
Just put 10 more in Taylor
Good
Hendricks and we're good.
That's what you meant
That's fine.
anyways.
I actually like the idea of giving. I'm cool with this. Keontae deserves a little more than 5. I get that. Coulibaly deserves a little more than 10. I get that. And we're pretty torn on Lively and Buffkin. I think I'm cool with this.
I'll
Okay.
allow it.
All right. Let's see where we're at. We're going to grab these. We will sort by value.
Look at the Excel master at work.
Descending. Oh, yeah. The easiest.
Color
function on
coding
Earth.
and everything.
Color coding.
Good
It's called
grief.
conditional formatting.
This is a
So we
masterclass.
have our initial board that can be tweaked because this is all in a vacuum in different groups. As you guys see this now, and I'll read it for the folks in the podcast. Our order for this group of 16 players is 1, Tayler Hendricks, followed by Anthony Black, Kaysen Wallace, Derek Lively, Kobe Buffkin, Leonard Miller, Grady Dick, Noah Clowney, Tariq Whitehead, Nick Smith Jr., Bilal Coulibaly, Bryce Sensabaugh, Jordan Hawkins, Keontae George, Jet Howard, and Ryan Rupert. Anything we want to change now that we have the fine-tooth comb to make these small adjustments?
This is pretty close.
Yeah, I was gonna say it turned out a lot closer than I thought it would. I definitely, though, again, I'm not like completely against Noah Clowney, but I still, in my personal board, have guys like Whitehead, NSJ, Coulibaly, all above Noah Clowney. I'm cool with him being above Sensabaugh. Still would have Hawkins above him. Still would have George above him. Honestly, still would have Jet Howard above him. So Noah Clowney is one I think we should mess with a little bit.
We should push down. Are you guys okay with Tayler Hendricks being number 1?
I am.
Yeah.
Honestly, I would like to see, like for me, I think Hendricks and Black are probably pretty even. So the 20, if we're looking at value, the 20 variance between the two is a little much for me. But I'm totally cool with him being above Black for consensus.
I don't
Say
know,
it.
dude.
So,
Like,
go ahead.
Taylor Hendricks, on paper, philosophically, fits this team like a freaking glove. Can space the floor, can shoot threes, can be a weak side shot blocker, can defend in space a little bit. Isn't really a playmaker because he's a play finisher. He's got a nice like catch radius, can get lobs, can get up and dunk the ball. I just feel like what the Thunder are trying to build, that Anthony Black and Kaysen Wallace fit that a little bit cleaner, even though they're smaller and they don't fit a position of need.
Agreed. If this guy was available,
Hey, look at Nick.
would that be your number 1 regardless?
Yes.
The this guy is Nick just made the entire spreadsheet Jarris Walker.
It's command.
Yeah,
W.
I'm allotting $120 to Jarris.
Okay.
Yeah,
Back to
I would
reality.
have him number 1 in
That's
this.
not allowed. Yeah.
So you guys say Tayler Hendricks was our highest allotted value, but from a Thunder standpoint and how these players fit the team, you might have him 3rd.
I might put Anthony Black above him and make Hendricks and Wallace like even.
Tied. I'm cool with that. I would have Black, Hendricks, Wallace, but Hendricks and Wallace very close. So I'm totally cool with them being equal.
So you can disregard the numbers now. We're just gonna go 1, 2A,
Yep.
2B.
And then we zoom in a little bit, Nick.
Yep.
So I don't have to like on the stream.
Can you see Adam okay?
Yes.
100%.
So that would put Lively
That number
4.
right next to Adam, 286. Is that the suspension number for Jaw?
Oh my gosh.
Jeez.
Well done.
I think I'm okay with Lively at 4, Buffkin
I
at 5, Leonard at 6.
Yeah.
Is it crazy that we have Grady Dick all the way down at 7?
I was just thinking that. Ugh.
Tell me, where should he be?
12.
I kind of like him at
My
You want him,
same-
at- you
my
want him at
same-
12, Justin? Is that what you're saying?
That's what I was saying. Yes.
12.
My same argument with Jordan Hawkins, I think, applies to Grady Dick. Like if he doesn't shoot
But
it,
he's 6'7". He's not.
that's the difference. Is Grady Dick
That's a good
is he's got the height that if Jordan
Sneaky
Hawkins was 6'7",
athleticism.
6'8", Jordan Hawkins is going like top 10.
I
Right.
agree with that. Also, Grady has sneaky athleticism. Like he has a little
All
bit.
right,
not
stop-
a little,
does he?
He's got some good bounce.
Is that 'cause
Stop
he's
with the
white?
Can
stereotypical white
extend.
stuff.
Terrible. Listen, if being 6'7" made you worthy of a roster spot, I'd be on a roster.
Yeah, that's right.
gentlemen.
Justin would be.
Don't
I wish that
don't
for
let-
you, Justin.
Don't let the 6'7" height.
Now, to
fool
be
you.
fair, Grady Dick plays guard, wing.
Don't be deceived.
and,
Justin, I'm gonna buy you an OKC blue jersey, and one like day during a blue game, I just want you to like walk out on the court in the warm-ups and see how long you can stay out there before somebody recognizes.
Once
We
they
just-
see
That's
that
actually
jumper,
so
they'll know.
realistic. Because
We
those players
joked
be like,
about-
oh yeah, new guy.
we
Cool.
we joked about in Vegas for summer league me throwing on a
Why
Thunder,
did we not make this a bet?
a Thunder sweatsuit and walking
We
around to see if
should have made
anyone
this a preseason bet.
thinks I'm a player.
Hey, it's not too late for next season, Taylor.
There we go. Okay, so I'm cool with moving Grady Dick above Leonard Miller. If you all are, you want to switch those two?
Not really.
Not really. Okay.
Agreed.
Okay.
Leave it.
You guys are cool with Buffkin at 5? You like Buffkin over Miller and Dick?
I think
I'm
so.
not as high on Buffkin as the
I'm not
other
either.
two, but I'll get overruled, and that's fine.
I mean, you could flip 5 and
have them
6.
in like the same tier.
Those three are like almost interchangeable to me.
Yeah,
Okay,
Like
so you
we
wanna
can mix
do-
them up in whatever order we
Yes.
wanted.
that's kind of how I feel for different reasons. Agreed.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fair.
So Clowney B8.
Ugh, no, I went Clowney. I'm curious.
I'd
your guys'
probably
thought.
put the next two above Clinton. Just
I'd
the
put the
injury
next
stuff with
3.
Whitehead scares me.
Okay. So you want to move Clowney down low, and you want to move these two. You want to move these 3 or these 2?
I'd
I
move the 3 up.
Me too.
Okay.
I also would put Hawkins above.
You guys like Hawkins over?
I like
Clowney?
Hawkins over Sensabaugh.
Me
Okay.
too.
What about over Clowney? Since the
I
bar
like him
Clowney.
over Clowney.
I think
Gosh,
that's
there's-
good. Drop Bryce down 1, and
That's
then
kind of what
put
I'm thinking
Clowney.
too. I know there's a lot of people that are still high on Sensabaugh and would put him above even some of the guys we have up here, but I agree completely. Keontae is such an so is Jet.
I
So
think
to be
this is
fair-
the right order.
Taylor
They're all
loves
super
everyone.
interesting.
Is what I'm
no,
taking away.
I don't love them. That's my issue. It's like I
I think this
don't
is
know
the
where
right
to place
answer.
them.
I
I
feel
worry a
decent
lot about
this.
Jet.
Nick, do you want to, for the listeners at home, do you want to read off our board now?
Yep. So our final board after the game and some tweaks. We now have Anthony Black, number 1, Taylor Hendricks 2, Kason Wallace, Derek Lively, Kobe Buffkin, Leonard Miller, Grady Dick, Derek Whitehead, Nick Smith Jr., Bilal Coulibaly, Jordan Hawkins, Noah Clowney, Bryce Sensabaugh, Keontae George, Jet Howard, Ryan Repair. But Taylor Hendricks and Kason Wallace are a 2A, 2B, so the same tier there. And then Kobe Buffkin, Leonard Miller, and Grady Dick are all in that 4th tier below Lively.
I like it.
Interesting.
I do like. I like it too.
So Nick, you just facilitated and you didn't like actively take part in this. Where would you change stuff if we gave you the final input?
I would have Buffkin in the Dariq Whitehead, Nick Smith Jr. tier and have Leonard Miller, Grady Dick in their own tier.
Do you agree with our top up there?
I'm a Tayler Hendricks guy. I probably would have him one, but I couldn't argue with Anthony Black. Like, I think Anthony Black gets drafted before Tayler, and I think Anthony Black has the tools to be better than Tayler. I just like when you're 6'10" and you can guard centers, weak side shot blocker, lateral quickness to guard on the wing, shoot 40% from three. Like, where do you want next to Chet? That's my opinion. From there, yeah, probably I probably have Jet above Bryce. I probably have Keontae above Clowney. For the most part, you guys directionally where I would be, you guys are very, very similar.
Where are you at with Coulibaly right now? And I know we're going a little long on the podcast tonight, but just with all the Coulibaly hype, Nick,
On a scale
what are
of
your
Andre
thoughts?
Robertson to Russell Westbrook,
Yeah, right.
how do you feel about Coulibaly?
When you put it that way, Justin, okay, maybe those weren't the best comps, but
He's like a solid Eric Maynor for me.
I like him as a prospect in the right situation. Like Oklahoma City, I would trust he turns into a good player. But I think the role he's playing with Mets 92, where he's like a productive, sneaky, like secondary playmaker scorer guy, is probably his ceiling. Like I don't see him ever being a number one guy. And at 12, you can't really expect to draft the number one guy. But I think as long as you tamper your expectations, thinking that Coulibaly is going to be a Cam Johnson role. He's not a Cam Johnson shooter, but that kind of role in a contender. Like as long as that's your expectation, and you don't expect him to be this superstar, then yeah, I think he's fine at 12. But there's other teams that if they drafted him, I'd be like, yeah, his career may not go very well.
I did like Justin's point about, yes, Coulibaly, like it makes sense that Thunder would draft him, but, and Justin, you might have been talking about a different player, but there's just already so many mouths to feed. Like, can Coulibaly, it's a great developmental situation, OKC, but is he really able to flourish and reach his full potential compared to like maybe a blow it all up Toronto team who's willing to put the ball in his hands a little more earlier on? Not just like
There's been talks of Utah taking him at 9.
Utah, that's another good example. If they are, if they're cool with
Be my
bottoming
guest.
out.
That slides somebody else down to 12.
Yep.
Agreed.
Not that it matters. The Thunder picking at 5 and taking Jarris Walker anyway. So
honestly, I'm with you, Jacob. I would love that if they end up with Walker. I really would. I think I need to move him a little higher on my personal big board.
Can you get higher than 1?
Also, since Nick has the Poku draft night pickup, I'm here to defend my honor. I got called a gaslighter in the comments. A-Man backed me up and said, I think Justin won that bet. I pulled up the doc. I won that bet.
So Silva has to do this.
Silva has to recreate the Poku draft night pick. Thank you very much.
We were dragging Justin's name through the mud.
This was the one. It was hotly debated about Poku will lead the team in total blocks. If you'll
That's
remember.
right.
Yep, I remember that. Okay, very good.
So take that, Silva, wherever you are.
With your margaritas.
Nick, we got to hand it to you. This is
your
twice. This is the sample size is growing, but the percentage stays the same.
I also like.
We might take you in the lotto now.
We had PowerPoint the first time, Excel this time. I look.
What do we get next?
Your Microsoft Word adventure next time, maybe Outlook.
I'm playing in the French league, so it's hard to evaluate me, but try your best.
I need you to put together a Power BI app within Microsoft.
I can do that.
So
I actually can do that.
Live updates.
I don't know what that means.
Throughout the draft.
I can do that.
Great stuff. I think this was a really good exercise to build out the Uncontested's big board. I think we should definitely tweet this out so the internet can absolutely crap on us, which would 100% happen.
Now we need the full
But you know what?
context. It wasn't like we were making a big board of every player here. We need the groups.
We're here for a good time. So
Not a long time.
yeah, that's probably also true. We were going to hit around the association, but we've already podcasted for an hour and 10 minutes. That was an
I thought you
open-ended.
froze.
Do you guys
Was
want to
it?
go around the
I thought you
association?
froze.
Nuggets are going to win the finals. Chris Paul's old. Nobody wants him on his team. I don't know what is happening in Phoenix, but it's chaos. I think that about sums it up.
Hey, Kyrie Irving, Stein saying maybe the Rockets would be interested. I pray to the man upstairs that happens. Granted, if that was only if it doesn't work out with the Mavericks, there is some disclaimers there. I don't mean to aggregate.
Disclaimers there.
Chaos. Yeah, I've been really torn on these finals. Curious what you guys think. Like, rooting for it, I did not want Lakers, Celtics, big market at all. But I also think I'm just kind of to the point of the season where, like, and it's me just being a Thunder fan, neither of these teams winning affect me all that much. I haven't really paid a ton of attention to it. And I've been like looking a lot into the draft and how it impacts the Thunder, potential offseason moves, and find myself falling into the trap of the stereotypical NBA fan online who's just in it for the trades and big fireworks,
the drama,
and less so like the whole reason we do all these teams do all these trades and free agency moves, etc., is to win a championship like the Denver Nuggets. And so I'm trying to kind of, I don't know, have a little internal conflict going within me right now.
I think Denver was gonna do some nasty business to anybody they faced. For the most part, they've looked real good, and it's just, I don't know if ironic is the right word, that they're so good, but people just don't get enthused about them. Like they're not a team that elicits like strong reactions from anybody, but they're a really good team. And I think like as a Thunder fan, to your point, Taylor, it's like that's what you strive for. Like they made the finals, like they're getting that dream moment right now that Thunder fans hope for. It's awesome. I love Jimmy. Like I love Jimmy Butler. I think that's been a fun story. I hate the Heat, but I love Jimmy Butler.
Yep.
And that's been a fun storyline, like the 8 seed to make the playoff or to make the finals. But I agree, like it doesn't have the pizzazz that the LeBron versus Steph and all that. But I feel like it's more due to the surrounding buzz around it is just not as hyped. And I don't know if that's fair or not, but like if the Thunder won a title and it got the lowest rated NBA finals ever, who cares?
Yeah, we wouldn't care. That's
Nobody cares.
Great point.
Yeah.
Run it back.
And maybe be a little more
you bring
sexy.
up the point of like LeBron, Steph, and those are like these two stars, like these huge stars that everything else revolves around.
It's narrative.
It's unfair that Nikola Jokic doesn't get that treatment because I think Nikola Jokic is the best basketball player on the face of planet Earth.
Exactly.
Right
Agreed.
Even
now,
compared to
Wemby,
Giannis, who's not
Chet
like
might have something to say about that. But Jokic, and like we were talking about the Denver trade earlier, 6 years is a long time. Guys can get traded.
Yeah.
But Jokic isn't deteriorating. I mean, injuries could happen. That man can't jump over a damn piece of paper.
Doesn't have to.
And
that ain't changing.
He's dropping 34, 10, and 10 averages in the NBA finals on like 60% true shooting or just 60% field goal percentage. The dude is insane. He deserves so much more love than he gets. And I think part of it is like LeBron and Steph and Jimmy and MJ like lived and breathed basketball. Yeah. And Jokic is like, no, they're just numbers, dude. Okay. I just want to go like drink a beer and like see my horses.
So Katie tweeted this out and then deleted it. And I saw somebody get a screenshot of it. And I just saw it for the first time here a couple days ago. But Katie tweeted out, I don't think Jokic wants or cares to be a star. He just wants to go to work, go home, FaceTime his horses, and hop in the pool.
Big mood.
He's insane. He's so good. So good.
It's interesting. Somebody else tweeted, the meme going around of like, this is the funniest season of all time. Someone tweeted the video that I had forgotten about that nobody picked Jokic in the live draft.
Oh, yeah.
All-Star game. He had to pick himself. And like fast forward from that moment to today, MVP and soon to be NBA champion
And
it's
finals MVP.
ridiculous. Yeah, right.
Remember
Ridiculous.
the whole like basketball versus Hooper debate?
Yes.
Nikola Jokic is 100% a basketball player.
Yep.
Like there's not a
That's
bag. He's got the Sombor shuffle. Like that's it. But he is just the most like intelligent. He's in conversation for best top 3 passer in NBA history. Not center passer, just passer
in general. Yep.
in NBA history. Like, is it like Nash, CP, and Jokic?
And
That's an
Stockton.
ridiculous
Yeah.
list.
Stockton. Okay, top 5.
I for personal reasons, I moved Stockton down, but there's a lot of shots Stockton wouldn't take.
Unbelievable.
Jason Kidd probably goes on the list. He's Jokic's top 5
Magic Johnson.
passer to ever play the game.
Yeah.
I'm planting my flag there.
Magic Johnson was doing Zion things before Zion.
It's time to end the pod.
It is.
I think so as well.
We've lost the plot.
You guys, thank you so much for tuning into the Uncontested podcast. If this was your first time joining us, thank you so much. You should consider subscribing wherever you get your podcasts from. Also, sub to the YouTube channel. Join us live so you can see Nick's incredible Excel sheets. You didn't know you needed it until it popped up on the screen. You were like, this is what I needed this weekend.
Sounds like
So-
Zion also.
We'll be back Wednesday night. I think, should the finals end on Monday, I think Wednesday night is going to be the faucet episode where we turn on the faucet and just let the slop drip out. I'm very excited for it. Next Sunday will be more draft talk before next Wednesday, the 21st, will be our official draft predictions podcast. It's going to be a blast. And then again, we will be live during the NBA draft. So make sure to come join us, hang out. It's so much fun. It's maybe my favorite thing we do all year. I don't know if I can say that because going out to Summer League is probably my favorite thing all year, but the draft live stream is definitely top 2. So make plans, sub wherever you get your podcast at, sub to the YouTube, follow us on all social medias. Enjoy the beginning of your week. Enjoy the NBA Finals. We will be back in 3 days, Wednesday, 9 p.m. Central Time. We will see you guys then. Until then, as always, thunder up.